20 years ago, I closed the chest of a 72-year-old retired firefighter whose arteries had turned to stone. Not figuratively, I mean they crunched under my instruments. This man was on 5 different medications for his heart. 5. His wife packed his pill box every Sunday night like clockwork. He walked 3 miles a day. He never smoked. He did everything right, everything his doctors told him. And still, there he was, split open on my operating table at 6 in the morning while his grandchildren slept at home, not knowing if he would make it through. But here is what haunts me about that case. What kept me up that night and many nights after. The thing that could have changed his entire trajectory was never prescribed. It was never mentioned in any appointment. It was sitting in his kitchen, in his refrigerator, on his counter. 6 ordinary things that nobody thought to tell him about. No new pills, no procedures, no side effects that need their own medication to manage. Just food. Doing what food has done for hundreds of thousands of years before we forgot how to let it. My name is Dr. Andrew Collins, and I have spent over 3 decades as a cardiothoracic surgeon. I have held more human hearts in my hands than I can count. And what I am about to share with you in the next several minutes may be the most important conversation you ever have about your cardiovascular health. So please, stay with me through every word, because by the time we are done here, you will know exactly what to do, and you can begin tonight. Let me start by explaining something that most people over 60 have never had properly explained to them. Your blood pressure is not just rising because you are getting older. It is not just stress. It is not just the salt shaker. Something much more fundamental is happening inside your body right now, and it has been happening for years. Picture a brand new rubber band, fresh out of the package. You can stretch it, twist it, pull it in every direction, and it snaps right back. That is what your arteries looked like when you were 30. They were soft, they were elastic. Every time your heart pumped, those vessel walls expanded gently to absorb the force and then relaxed. The whole system worked in beautiful harmony. Now picture that same rubber band after it has been sitting in a drawer for 20 years. It is stiff, it is cracked, you try to stretch it and it resists. Pull too hard and it snaps. That is what is happening to your blood vessels right now. The walls are losing their ability to flex. They are becoming rigid. And a rigid pipe under high pressure is a disaster waiting to happen. That is not just a metaphor. That is the mechanical reality of what I see every time I open a chest. But here is the part that changes everything. The primary driver of that stiffening is not age itself. It is inflammation. Chronic, invisible, relentless inflammation that burns inside your artery walls day after day, year after year, without producing a single symptom you can feel. You will never wake up and say, "I think my arteries are inflamed today." There is no pain, there is no warning sign. There is just slow, steady damage accumulating silently until one day the system fails. And this is where food becomes the most powerful medicine most people are ignoring. Because every single time you eat, and you eat 3 or 4 times a day, every single day, your body makes a decision. Is this meal going to calm that inflammation, or is it going to pour gasoline on it? Most people have no idea they are making that choice. Their doctors do not have 45 minutes to sit down and explain it. The appointments are short, the prescription pad is fast, and the patient walks out with another bottle of pills and no understanding of the fire burning inside them. That is what this conversation is about. Not replacing your medication. I will say that clearly, and I will say it more than once. But giving your body 6 powerful natural tools that work alongside whatever your doctor has you on. Tools that, in my experience and in the published research, can produce results that are genuinely remarkable, some of them within days. So, let us begin with the first one, and I want you to think about your dinner tonight as I explain this. When you sit down to eat, what do you put in your mouth first? For most people, it is whatever is most convenient. A piece of bread, a forkful of pasta, a spoonful of rice. Maybe you grab a roll before the main course even arrives. It is automatic. You do not think about it. But what if I told you that simply changing the sequence, not the food itself, not the quantity, just the order in which it enters your body, could meaningfully lower your blood pressure starting this week? Here is what happens. When you eat your vegetables and greens before anything else on that plate, the fiber in those vegetables does something extraordinary. It creates a physical gel-like layer in your upper digestive tract. Think of it as a net. And that net catches the sugars and simple carbohydrates that come after it, the bread, the potatoes, the rice, and dramatically slows down how fast they enter your bloodstream. Why does that matter for your blood pressure? Because when sugar rushes into your blood too quickly, your pancreas panics. It floods your system with insulin. And insulin in large amounts causes your blood vessels to clamp down. They tighten. They constrict. Your blood pressure climbs right there at the dinner table, and you feel absolutely nothing. You have no idea it is happening, but it is happening. Meal after meal, day after day, year after year. I had a patient, a retired postal worker, 73 years old, who changed nothing about his diet except this one thing. He ate his salad and steamed vegetables before touching anything else on his plate. Same food, same wife cooking, same portions. 2 weeks later, his home blood pressure readings had dropped consistently. Not dramatically, not dangerously, just steadily and noticeably. He called me and said, "Doc, I thought you were out of your mind when you told me this. I do not think that anymore." So tonight, whatever is on your plate, eat the greens first, the broccoli, the spinach, the peppers, the salad. Finish them before you pick up the fork for anything else. It costs nothing, it takes no extra time, and your arteries will thank you for it. Now here is the second thing, and it has probably been collecting dust in your pantry for years. Apple cider vinegar. 2 tablespoons in a tall glass of water, taken with your meals. I know, I can feel the eye rolls from here. And honestly, I respect that. I am a surgeon, not a salesman. So let me give you the actual science and you can decide for yourself. The key compound in apple cider vinegar is acetic acid. And acetic acid does 2 things that are directly relevant to your blood pressure. First, it improves how your cells respond to insulin. Remember those dangerous post-meal insulin surges we just talked about? Acetic acid softens them. It helps your cells take in glucose more efficiently, so your body does not have to produce as much insulin. Less insulin means less vessel constriction. Less constriction means lower pressure. The chain reaction is simple and well documented. But here is the second thing, and this is the one that truly caught my attention when I first reviewed the research. Acetic acid has been shown to support the production of nitric oxide within your blood vessel lining. Now, nitric oxide is not some obscure molecule. It is arguably the single most important chemical your cardiovascular system produces. It is your body's own natural command to your arteries to relax, to open, to soften. It is essentially doing what an entire category of blood pressure medications is designed to do. And your body can make more of it with the help of something that costs less than a cup of coffee. There are important rules though. Never drink it undiluted. Always mix it in at least a full glass of water. Use a straw to protect your tooth enamel. And if you have a history of stomach ulcers or severe acid reflux, talk to your doctor before adding this. But for the vast majority of people, this is a remarkably simple and safe addition. 1 glass with breakfast, 1 with your midday meal, 1 with dinner. Give it 3 to 4 weeks and then check your numbers. You may be very surprised. Now let me talk about what is happening while you sleep, because this is the part that worries me the most as a surgeon, and it is the part that almost nobody is paying attention to. Most people check their blood pressure in the morning or at the doctor's office. Those are daytime readings, and they are important. But what is happening to your pressure between midnight and 5 in the morning? For a healthy cardiovascular system, blood pressure is supposed to drop at night. It is called nocturnal dipping. Your heart rate slows, your vessels relax, your whole system downshifts. It is your heart's only chance to rest and recover. But for a significant number of people over 60, that drop does not happen. Their pressure stays elevated all night long, or worse, it actually rises while they sleep. This is called nocturnal hypertension, and it is one of the most dangerous and most overlooked patterns in cardiovascular medicine. It is strongly associated with stroke, with heart attack, with kidney damage, and the terrifying thing is that your regular daytime readings will not catch it. You can sit in your doctor's office with a perfectly reasonable number on the monitor and still have a serious problem happening every single night. This is where the third tool comes in, and it might surprise you. A small handful of walnuts, about 30 grams, roughly 14 walnut halves, eaten approximately 30 minutes before you go to sleep. Walnuts are one of nature's most concentrated sources of alpha-linolenic acid, which is a plant-based omega-3 fatty acid. They also contain a natural form of melatonin and an amino acid called L-arginine that your body uses to produce more of that critical nitric oxide we discussed earlier. Together, these compounds gently encourage your blood vessels to relax during the night. They support that natural pressure dip that your body is supposed to make but may have stopped making years ago. I have recommended this to hundreds of patients over the years. It is not a magic cure. It is not going to replace medication, but the consistency of the results has impressed me again and again. 30 grams, 14 halves, 30 minutes before bed. Write it on a note and stick it on your bedside table until it becomes automatic. Now I want to tell you about a flower. This is the fourth tool, and it might be my personal favorite because it combines beautiful science with something genuinely enjoyable. Hibiscus, a deep crimson flower that has been used in traditional medicine across North Africa, the Caribbean, Central America, and the Middle East for centuries. You may know it as sorrel. You may know it as agua de Jamaica. You may know it as carcade. In many cultures, it is simply called red tea. And modern science has finally confirmed what traditional healers knew all along. Hibiscus flowers are dense with compounds called anthocyanins and specific organic acids. And these compounds interact with your cardiovascular system in a way that is strikingly similar to a class of prescription medications called ACE inhibitors. If you or someone you love takes blood pressure medication, there is a very good chance it is an ACE inhibitor. These drugs work by blocking an enzyme that tells your blood vessels to tighten. They are effective, they are widely prescribed, and they come with a well-known side effect that drives patients crazy, a persistent dry cough that never seems to go away. Hibiscus works through a nearly identical mechanism. It inhibits that same enzyme, but it does it gently, naturally, and without the cough. A major clinical study published in one of the leading nutrition journals found that adults who drank hibiscus tea daily experienced an average drop of roughly 7 points in their systolic blood pressure. 7 points. To put that in perspective, that is a result that many prescription medications would be proud to claim. And it came from a flower steeped in hot water. 3 cups a day, morning, afternoon, and evening. You can drink it hot or cold. But here is the critical rule. No sugar, or at the very most, a small touch of raw honey. Sugar will undo everything we are trying to accomplish. It will spike your insulin, it will drive inflammation, it will work directly against every benefit the hibiscus is providing. And one important warning. If you are currently taking an ACE inhibitor medication, do not add 3 cups of hibiscus tea to your daily routine without talking to your doctor first. Combining a pharmaceutical ACE inhibitor with a natural one can push your blood pressure too low, and low blood pressure brings its own set of serious problems. We are looking for balance, not overcorrection, so have that conversation. But for the many people who are not on ACE inhibitors or who are working with their doctor to explore complementary approaches, hibiscus tea is one of the most elegant, affordable, and evidence-backed tools available, and it tastes wonderful. Now we come to the 5th change, and I want you to understand something before I say it. What I am about to tell you will contradict advice that you have probably been hearing for 30 or 40 years. It contradicted what I was taught in medical school. But the science has evolved, the evidence has accumulated, and as a surgeon who has seen the inside of thousands of human chests, I can no longer stay silent about it. I want you to go to your kitchen after this. Open your cupboard, look at the cooking oils you have been using. If you see canola oil, soybean oil, corn oil, sunflower oil, or any generic vegetable oil, I need you to understand what those bottles are doing to your cardiovascular system. These oils are extraordinarily high in omega-6 fatty acids. Now, omega-6 is not poison. Your body does need a small amount of it, but the ratio matters enormously. For hundreds of thousands of years of human evolution, people consumed omega-6 and omega-3 in roughly equal proportions, a 1-to-1 ratio, maybe 2-to-1. The human body was designed for that balance. Today, the average person eating a modern diet consumes somewhere between 15 and 25 times more omega-6 than omega-3. That is not a slight imbalance. That is a metabolic catastrophe. Because excess omega-6 is one of the most potent drivers of chronic systemic inflammation that exists in the modern food supply. It is the gasoline being poured on the fire inside your artery walls every single day. And it gets worse. These industrial seed oils are chemically unstable at high temperatures. When you heat them in a pan, they oxidize. They break apart into toxic compounds called aldehydes that directly damage the cells lining your blood vessels. The food looks normal, it tastes normal, but on a molecular level, every meal cooked in these oils is delivering a payload of inflammatory damage straight to your cardiovascular system. So what do you use instead? Two things. For low and medium heat cooking, for salad dressings, for drizzling over finished dishes, use extra virgin olive oil. Real extra virgin olive oil is rich in a compound called oleocanthal, which is such a powerful natural anti-inflammatory that researchers have compared its mechanism to ibuprofen. It also provides monounsaturated fats that actively support healthy arterial function. The evidence behind olive oil is so strong and so consistent that it is essentially beyond debate in the medical literature at this point. For higher heat cooking, for pan frying, for roasting at high temperatures, use real butter, traditional butter, ideally from grass-fed sources if you can find it. I know that this goes against everything you heard in the 1980s and 90s. Butter was the villain, margarine was the hero, vegetable oil was supposed to save your heart. But margarine is made from the exact same inflammatory seed oils we just discussed. It is the same problem in a different package. Real butter, used in reasonable quantities, is a stable cooking fat that does not oxidize into toxic compounds when heated. It is not a health food you should eat by the stick, but as a cooking medium, it is vastly superior to the industrial oils most people are using right now. You do not have to throw everything away tonight. But when that bottle of canola runs out, do not replace it. Buy a good bottle of extra virgin olive oil and a block of real butter. Make the switch gradually. Over 3 to 6 months, your inflammatory markers can change measurably, and your blood pressure will reflect it. Now here is the sixth and final tool, and I saved it for last because it connects everything else together in a way that I think will stay with you. Magnesium. Not from a supplement, from food. Magnesium is involved in over 300 enzymatic reactions in your body. 300. But the ones that matter most for this conversation are its roles in blood vessel relaxation and electrical regulation of your heart rhythm. Magnesium is essentially the mineral that tells your smooth muscle tissue, including the smooth muscle in your artery walls, to relax, to unclench, to let go. And here is the problem. An enormous percentage of adults over 60 are deficient in magnesium, not slightly low, meaningfully deficient. Because modern farming has depleted magnesium from the soil, because processed food strips it out, because certain medications, including some very common blood pressure medications and diuretics, actively drain magnesium from your body. You are using more of it than ever and getting less of it than ever, and your blood vessels are paying the price. The foods richest in magnesium are dark leafy greens like spinach and Swiss chard, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate with at least 70% cacao, almonds, avocados, black beans. These are not exotic or expensive items. They are ordinary foods that most people are simply not eating enough of. I am not asking you to overhaul your entire diet. I am asking you to make sure that at least 1 or 2 of these magnesium-rich foods show up on your plate every single day. A handful of pumpkin seeds on your salad, a small square of dark chocolate after dinner, half an avocado with your lunch. These small additions add up to something your cardiovascular system desperately needs. Let me pause here because I want to say something that goes beyond the science. I have been doing this for over 30 years. I have repaired hearts that were barely functioning. I have held arteries that crumbled between my fingers. I have delivered news to families that no one should ever have to deliver. And every single time, without exception, the same question echoes in my head. How did we get here? How did this person end up on my table when the tools to prevent it were available all along? The answer is almost always the same. Nobody connected the dots. The information existed, but it was scattered across journals and studies and conferences that patients never see. The doctor had 8 minutes per appointment and a waiting room full of people. The patient was doing their best with what they knew. And the gap between what the science shows and what actually reaches the kitchen table is enormous. That gap is what I am trying to close right now, with you, in this conversation. Everything I have shared today works through the same fundamental pathway: reducing inflammation, restoring flexibility to your blood vessels, supporting your body's own ability to regulate pressure naturally. 6 different approaches, 6 different doors, all opening into the same room. A room where your heart does not have to work so hard, where your arteries can breathe again, where the numbers on that monitor start moving in the right direction. The retired firefighter I told you about at the beginning. After his surgery, after the long recovery, after the fear and the uncertainty, we sat down together, him and his wife and me, and we talked about all 6 of these things. He listened carefully, he asked good questions, he started slowly, one change at a time, always in coordination with his cardiologist. 8 months later, he walked into my office for a follow-up, and I almost did not recognize him. His color was better, he was moving differently, there was something in his eyes that had not been there before. His cardiologist had taken him from 5 medications down to 2. His inflammatory blood work had improved dramatically. His pressure was stable, genuinely stable, not the kind of stable where you are being held together by chemistry, the kind of stable where your body is actually doing its job again. And the first words out of his mouth were these: "Why did nobody tell me sooner, Dr. Collins? Why did I have to have my chest open to find this out?" That question never leaves me. It follows me home. It follows me into these conversations. It is the reason I do what I do beyond the operating room, because the operating room should be the last resort, not the wake-up call. You are hearing this now, today, before anyone has to open your chest. And that is not a small thing. That might be the most important thing. So let me bring this together one final time, clearly, simply, so you can carry it with you. 1. Eat your vegetables and greens first at every meal, before the starches, before the bread, before the rice. Let the fiber slow everything down. 2. 1 to 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar diluted in a full glass of water, taken with each meal. Use a straw. Never drink it straight. 3. 30 grams of walnuts, about 14 halves, eaten 30 minutes before bedtime, every night. 4. 3 cups of hibiscus tea daily, morning, afternoon, evening. No sugar or minimal raw honey only. 5. Stop cooking with canola, soybean, corn, and sunflower oils. Replace them with extra virgin olive oil and real butter. 6. Eat magnesium-rich foods every single day. Spinach, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate, almonds, avocados, black beans. At least 1 or 2 of these daily without fail. That is it. 6 things. Nothing on that list requires a prescription. Nothing on that list costs more than what you are already spending on groceries. Nothing on that list has side effects that need to be managed with another intervention. Just food, working the way food was always supposed to work. Now, here is what I want you to do. Not tomorrow, not after your next doctor visit. Right now, before you close this out, pick one, just one, whichever feels simplest, whichever feels most doable tonight. Maybe it is eating your greens first at dinner. Maybe it is ordering a box of hibiscus tea. Maybe it is checking what oil is sitting in your cupboard. Just one. Because lasting change does not come from overhauling everything overnight and collapsing under the weight of it by Friday. It comes from one small decision made consistently until it becomes invisible. Until it is not something you do, it is just the way you live. I have watched this process transform people. Not in theory, not in a textbook. Real people in their 60s, 70s, and 80s who decided that it was not too late, that their body still had the capacity to respond. And they were right. Every single time, they were right. Because the human body is astonishingly resilient. Your blood vessels want to heal. Your cardiovascular system wants to find equilibrium. Give it the right raw materials, and it will do the work. Tell me in the comments which of these 6 you are going to start with tonight. I read every single one. And if there is someone in your life, a parent, a spouse, a friend, a neighbor, who is struggling with their blood pressure, who is frustrated, who feels like they have tried everything, please share this with them. The information does not help anyone if it stays in one place. Pass it along. It might be the most important thing you do for someone today. And if you have not subscribed to this channel yet, I would genuinely appreciate it. Every week, I bring you honest, evidence-based information rooted in real clinical experience. The kind of information I wish every one of my patients had received years before they ever needed surgery. That is my commitment, and I do not take it lightly. Take care of your heart. It has been beating for you every second of every minute of every hour of every day of your entire life. It has never taken a vacation. It has never called in sick. It has never asked you for anything. It is asking now, and these 6 things are your answer. One final note, and it is a critical one. Everything I have shared with you today is general educational information based on current published research and my own clinical experience over 3 decades. It is not personalized medical advice. It is not a substitute for your relationship with your own physician. Please do not stop taking any medication or change any prescribed treatment without speaking directly with your doctor first. Bring this information to your next appointment. Show them this list. Have the conversation together. Your doctor is your partner in this journey, and these 6 strategies are designed to work alongside proper medical supervision, not instead of it. Be smart, be safe, and be well.